Sometimes you have to die to live. Welcome to Walking Through the Word. For today, we're in John chapter 12, and we are beginning the last third, if you will, of this book, and it really has to do with centering around the whole week of the crucifixion. We've seen Jesus in the triumphal entry, but now Jesus is going to be giving a series of teachings throughout. And this is one of the things that's beautiful and unique to John is that, remember, John doesn't do any parables, but John does a lot of personal testimony, things that he witnessed himself with Jesus, and gives a lot of theological implications as a result of it. We've seen some of those things, Jesus as the light of the world, Jesus as love, as the definition of love, something that John unpacks even further in his other letters. And here we're going to see what sacrifice, what the price of sacrifice, the necessity of sacrifice is. As Jesus in verse 20 finally says those words that we have been looking for quite a while, that have been, if you will, the tension has been building on them for a while now. And that's this whole implication of the timing. When is the time? Well, Jesus finally says it in this situation here. Among those who went up to worship at the feast, this is the Passover feast, by the way, that we're preparing for, were some Greeks. And Greeks, Gentiles, in other words, people who were not necessarily born as Jews, but have either converted to Jews or something along those lines. So they came to Philip and they said, we want to see Jesus. Okay? And so Philip told Andrew, Andrew told Jesus, okay? And Jesus answers them, and he answers them in a very unique way. He says, it's time. It is now time for the Son of Man to be glorified. Now imagine that at that point, the disciples were like, you hold on a minute. You kind of already had this going on. I mean, you had the whole baptism thing. You had the whole miracle. I mean, heck, you just raised Lazarus from the dead. I mean, you're pretty well glorified, not quite fully understanding what it is that Jesus is talking about. So Jesus then speaks in a little bit of an analogy. It's not a parable. Okay, this is more of an example. Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Now, what exactly does this mean? Well, if you think about it, if a seed falls into the ground, the seed can no longer remain a seed if it wishes to do what it was supposed to do. It has to become something more. It has to die as a seed so that it can produce this massive stalk of wheat. That is what Jesus is talking about here. I have to go into the ground. I have to give myself up so that you might live, so that everyone might live. Whoever loves his life will lose it. Whoever hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. This is very similar to what he says in Luke chapter 6, when he talks about how we must take up our cross daily and follow him. For whoever wishes to lose his life will save it. That's whoever loves his life will lose it, but whoever wishes to lose his life for me will save it. Basically, what he's saying there is, if you're willing to sacrifice for me, I will give you life and life to the full. I will give you eternal life. But it comes with a price. It comes with a perceived price. In other words, you have to be willing to sacrifice and give up what you think is valuable. If anyone serves me, he must follow me. Now, what does that mean to follow Jesus? The implications here, the disciples don't yet fully understand. But remember where Jesus went. He went to the cross. Are we willing to do that? In Luke 6, when Jesus says, whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself and take up his cross daily, he is talking about how we must be willing to pick up the humiliation of the cross, to be scorned, to be ridiculed, to give up the things that we value most so that we are willing to follow him. There's no reason that people will say, and we saw it earlier in John, where people say, this is hard teaching. It is very hard teaching. It goes against everything that we want. Everything that we want. We don't want hard things. We don't want things that sacrifice produces if it doesn't produce something for our benefit, meaning immediate benefit. These are the things that Jesus is saying you have to be willing to give up. You must be my servant. And if anyone serves me, I promise this is what will happen. God will honor you. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen in the here and now. And so Jesus is trying to prepare them yet again for what's about to happen. And still, the disciples don't yet fully understand. Obviously, we have the benefit, the hindsight of knowing what's going to come and what this means, and that's an important part of it. But we can never gloss over the sacrifice of following Christ. It is well worth it. It is absolutely worth it to follow Jesus. I will tell you that without hesitation, but I will also tell you without hesitation, it is the hardest thing that you will ever do. Because like the seed, you have to be willing to die to yourself.